Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Once upon a time there lived a beautiful princess named Snow White. Her wicked stepmother, the queen, was jealous of Snow White's beauty and made her dress in rags and scrub the castle floors. While Snow White worked, the evil queen spent all day admiring her own face in her magic mirror. The queen chanted, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them one of all?" Slowly, a mysterious face appeared in the mirror and said, "Famed is thy beauty, Majesty, but hold, a lovely maid I see. Alas, she is more fair than thee." The terrible queen knew who the mirror meant: Snow White. Meanwhile, Snow White was innocently at work in the courtyard. She sang as she drew water from the well, and birds gathered to hear her sweet voice. A handsome prince was riding by and also heard her song. Enchanted by her lovely voice, he climbed the castle wall to find her. But Snow White was shy and ran into the castle. "Wait!" the handsome prince cried. "Don't run away!" Snow White appeared on a balcony and listened while the prince sang to her. Smiling, the young princess gave a kiss to a dove, who carried it down to the charming prince. Neither of them knew that the queen had spied on their meeting. The queen was enraged that Snow White had grown to be so beautiful. She decided to get rid of her stepdaughter once and for all. "Huntsman!" she shouted, summoning her servant. "Take Snow White into the forest. There you will kill her." The huntsman was shocked, but he was afraid to argue. She gave him a wooden box and commanded, "So that I am sure you have not failed, bring back her heart in this." Obeying the queen, the huntsman led Snow White deep into the woods. There, Snow White picked flowers and made friends with the forest animals. She spied a little bird who had lost its parents. As she helped the poor creature, she did not see the huntsman sneaking up behind her with the knife in his hand. Snow White turned and screamed in fear, but the huntsman did not strike. Instead, he dropped to one knee. "I can't do it," he wept. "She's mad jealous of you." "Who?" Snow White asked. "The queen," the huntsman replied. "Be quick, run away and hide. You must never come back." Frightened, Snow White fled deep into the forest. As night fell, she found herself surrounded by the shadows. Eyes stared at her out of the darkness. Owls hooted and bats screeched overhead. Evil-looking trees seemed to reach out and grab her. Crying out, the princess struggled to escape, but fell to the ground as everything went black. When she opened her eyes, Snow White found herself surrounded, not by evil creatures of the night, but by kind forest animals. They had waited patiently for her to wake up. The lovely princess smiled when she saw the faces of the deer, rabbits, chipmunks and birds. Snow White was comforted by her animal friends. They would take care of her. "But I do need a place to sleep at night," she told them. The kind animals led Snow White through the forest to a sunny clearing. There, the princess spied a tiny cottage. "It's adorable," said Snow White, "just like a dollhouse." With the animals scampering close behind, Snow White knocked on the small cottage door. When no one answered, she opened the door and cried, "Hello, may I come in?" Again, there was no answer. Inside the cottage, the beautiful girl found a most unusual home. There were 7 little chairs around the table and 7 little beds in the upstairs room. Snow White also noticed that the cottage was a mess. "I know," she told her forest friends. "I'll clean the house and surprise them. Then maybe they'll let me stay." Instantly, the cottage became a whirlwind of activity. Snow White and the animals washed the dishes and tidied the rooms. They cleaned up the fireplace and swept the floors with a broom. Soon, the cottage sparkled. Meanwhile, not far off, the 7 dwarfs who owned the cottage worked hard and happily, digging in their mine. All day long they dug in the tunnels in search of jewels. That evening, the 7 dwarfs left the mine and marched back to their cottage, singing and whistling after a hard day's work. The dwarf named Doc led the way. Behind him walked Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, Sneezy and Bashful, with Dopey bringing up the rear. Snow White had just finished cleaning the house and she was very tired. Yawning, she lay down across 3 of the beds. Her forest friends drew a blanket over her and Snow White fell fast asleep. Outside the cottage, the dwarfs reached the clearing. Suddenly, Doc stopped and the other dwarfs all bumped into him. "Look!" Doc cried. "The light's on!" Someone was in their house. Carefully, the dwarfs crept up to the door. "Maybe a ghost," Happy giggled nervously. "Or a goblin," whispered Bashful. "A demon," Doc said. "Or a dragonfly," sniffled Sneezy. Grumpy grumbled. "Mark my words, there's trouble a-brewing. Felt it coming all day." As they searched the rooms, the dwarfs noted something different about their cottage. Why, the whole place is clean," Doc sputtered. Suddenly they heard a noise above them. The intruder was upstairs. On tiptoes, the dwarfs climbed the stairs and peeked into the bedroom. There they saw something very large. "Jiminy crickets," said one dwarf. "What a monster! Covers 3 beds." They started forward with their tools, ready to strike. Doc held a lantern toward the sleeping figure and pulled back the blanket. The dwarfs gasped. "Why, it's a girl!" cried Doc. "She's mighty purty," Sneezy snuffled. Bashful blushed. "Oh, she's beautiful." At the sound of their voices, Snow White sat up. Frightened, the dwarfs ducked behind the beds. Snow White quickly calmed them down and told them who she was and what the evil queen had planned for her. "Please don't send me away," she begged. "If you do, she'll kill me." Grumpy wanted her to go. He knew the wicked queen was trouble. But Snow White pleaded, "If you let me stay, I'll keep your house for you. I'll wash and sew and sweep and cook." "Ah, cook!" the dwarf shouted happily. Snow White was allowed to stay. That night the dwarfs waited eagerly as Snow White prepared a meal. "Supper's not quite ready," the princess told them. You'll just have time to wash." "Wash?" spluttered the dwarfs, who weren't used to washing their hands. Snow White insisted. "March straight outside and wash, or you'll not get a bite to eat." All the dwarfs agreed to wash except for one. "Get him!" the others cried, and a moment later they dumped Grumpy into the tub. Soon he was soaped and scrubbed and clean as a whistle. But he was still grumpy. Meanwhile, inside the castle, the evil queen asked, "Magic mirror on the wall, now who is the fairest one of all?" "Snow White," the mirror answered. "Snow White lies dead in the forest," the foul queen replied. She even had the girl's heart in a box to prove it. "Snow White still lives," the magic mirror told her. Then it revealed where the princess was hiding. The queen realised the huntsman had tricked her. She decided, "I'll go myself to the dwarf's cottage in a disguise so complete no one will ever suspect." With that, the evil queen drank a magic potion. Suddenly the room grew dark. Lightning flashed, the queen screamed and clutched her throat as she began to change shape. Her cold, beautiful face twisted and wrinkled until she looked like an old hag. Next, the queen searched through all her magic spells to find one that would rid her of Snow White forever. Finally, she found what she was looking for, a poisoned apple. "One taste of the poisoned apple," the witch cackled, "and the victim's eyes will close forever in the sleeping death." The only cure for the evil spell was love's first kiss. But the hag knew that would never happen. The dwarfs still think she's dead. Will think she's dead. They'll bury her alive. Unaware of the Queen's plot, Snow White and the 7 dwarfs spent a happy evening in the cottage. Snow White sang to them about the handsome prince she longed to see again. Then they played music and danced until everyone was ready to fall asleep. As the sun rose the next morning, the dwarfs got ready for work. After a big breakfast, Snow White kissed each of them goodbye. Grumpy was concerned about leaving her alone. "Now I'm warning ya," he called out. "Don't let nobody or nothing in the house." Snow White smiled. Grumpy liked her after all. From the shadows of the trees, the wicked queen watched the dwarfs march off to work. Soon she was sure Snow White was alone. The witch appeared in the window of the cottage. Even though Snow White was startled by the wrinkled old hag, she did not recognise her evil stepmother. The queen noticed that Snow White was making a pie. "It's apple pies that make the men folks' mouths water," she said, holding out a juicy, red, poisoned fruit. Although the queen's disguise had fooled Snow White, it didn't fool the forest animals. Before the princess could take the apple, a flock of birds swooped down and knocked the poison apple from the witch's hand. Snow White didn't know that the birds were trying to protect her. "Go away," she told them. "Shame on you, frightening the poor old lady." The animals could only watch as Snow White helped the old woman into the cottage. Snow White was in terrible danger. The forest animals turned away from the cottage and raced through the woods to warn the dwarves. They had to save Snow White. Inside the cottage, the witch held out the apple once again. "Because you've been so good to poor old Granny, I'll share a secret with you," she lied. "This is no ordinary apple. It's a magic wishing apple. One bite and all your dreams will come true." Snow White thought of the handsome prince and bit into the apple. The moment Snow White tasted the apple, she fell to the ground. "Now," cackled the wicked witch, "you will sleep forever, and I'll be the fairest in the land." The evil queen slipped out of the cottage as rain began to fall. She had only gone a few steps when she heard the sound of running feet. Turning, she saw the 7 dwarfs and an army of forest animals charging through the woods. "There she goes!" Grumpy shouted. "After her!" As rain poured down, the dwarfs chased the queen up a tall mountain. They thought they had her trapped, but the evil old woman grabbed a tree branch and began to pry loose a huge boulder. If she could make it fall, it would crush them all. The dwarfs watched in horror as the boulder started to come loose. But at that moment, a bolt of lightning streaked out of the sky and shattered the ledge. Screaming, the queen tumbled off the mountaintop and into the darkness below. The queen was gone, but the dwarfs could not save Snow White. When they returned to the cottage, they found her lying on the floor, still and cold. The dwarfs were so heartbroken that they could not bring themselves to bury Snow White in the ground. Instead, they built a coffin of glass, golden glass, and promised to watch over her every day and night. One day, as the dwarfs gathered around her, the prince appeared. The prince had searched far and wide for Snow White. Now he had found her, but it was too late. Sadly, the prince approached and gently placed a farewell kiss on her cold lips. Suddenly, Snow White stirred. Her eyes opened and she sat up. The dwarfs cheered. The prince's kiss had broken the evil queen's spell. Snow White was alive. Snow White thanked the dwarfs for all they had done, then kissed them all goodbye. Together, the prince and Snow White rode off to his kingdom, where they lived happily ever after.